everyone. Today I wanted to discuss with you all some recent updates in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Madeleine's case is one of the most famous missing children's cases in the entire world. And now 16 years later, a Polish woman is claiming that she might be Madeleine. Madeleine Beth McCann was born on May 12th of 2003 to doctor parents Kait and Gary McCann in Leicester, England. On May 3rd, 2007, a soon-to-be 4-year-old Madeleine, her parents, and 2-year-old twin siblings went on a vacation to Praia da Luz, Portugal. In attendance were also 7 adults and 5 other children who were all family friends. That evening, around 8:30 p.m., Madeleine and her 2 siblings were asleep in an apartment that her parents were renting, and all of the families ended up renting these apartments that were all next to each other. And while the children were sleeping, the adults decided they were going to go to a tapas restaurant/bar, and this restaurant was approximately 295 feet away from where the apartment structure was. What's also really important to note is that the sliding glass door at the apartment was left unlocked by Madeleine's parents so that the parents could more easily check on the children. Now, the adults that attended the tapas bar that night would later be deemed the Tapas 7. And according to these adults, despite them going to this bar and leaving all of their very young children alone at these apartments, they would each take a turn going and checking on the children periodically. And everything was fine until it was Kait's turn to check. When Kait would go and check on the children around 10 p.m., she would realize that Madeleine was missing. Yet the 2 twins were inside of the apartment still, they were completely fine, and all of the other children were accounted for. But Madeleine would never be found. Now, there's been a lot of theories and sightings of Madeleine's case throughout the years. Jane Tanner, who was one of the McCann's friends who was at the tapa bar that night with them, claims to have witnessed a man carrying a child the night that Madeleine went missing. On top of that, a couple from Ireland ended up reporting to police saying that they also witnessed a man carrying a child around 3 to 4 years old and that this child was a girl. At one point in the investigation, authorities even accused Madeleine's parents, saying that Madeleine had possibly died inside of the apartment and that the McCanns had covered up her death. As of 2020, police have announced a new suspect, and this suspect is a German prisoner named Christian Bruckner, who's been convicted of both burglary and SA crimes against young girls. This man's story is disgusting. If you want me to cover his story, let me know. Maybe I will. But right now we're just going to focus on Madeleine. Now, on top of all of that, there has also been a lot of speculation on sketches of suspects that have been released. And this one in particular gives me the heebie-jeebies, because this sketch in particular really does resemble Ghislaine Maxwell. If you don't know who Ghislaine is, she's been charged with 6 federal crimes, including enticement of minors, trafficking of children, and perjury. And she's also been sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiracy with none other than Jeffrey Epstein for SA crimes against minors. So it's really strange to me that the sketch is so similar considering her now charges. So that's a very brief sum up on Madeleine's disappearance. And to this day, little Madeleine has never been found. Or has she? Because just recently this month of February 2023, a 21-year-old Polish woman named Julia Faustyna has come out claiming that she may be Madeleine. And she has stirred up a lot of attention from the media to the McCanns themselves. And it all started when she made an Instagram account called I Am Madeleine McCann, where she started posting evidence that supports her claims. So what are those claims? In Julia's first post of herself as a child, she writes, and I quote, "First reason, I don't remember most of my childhood, but my earliest memory is very strong, and it's about holidays and hot places where there's a beach and white or very light colored buildings with apartments. I remember I saw turtles on the beach. I can remember I saw turtles and then there were other children and they tried to touch the small turtles. I don't see my family in this memory." End quote. And the claims go on. Julia also claims she was SA'd at a young age by a German man. She specified that due to this trauma, she could no longer remember her life prior to being 4 years old, which is around the time when Madeleine was abducted or went missing. In another shocking claim, Julia said that before her grandmother died, she told her that her parents knew what had happened to her and they weren't trying to stop it. Julia also says that she has a very similar marking in her eye to Madeleine's, and this marking in Madeleine's eye is a really big thing that everyone says to look out for because it's such a distinct trait that Madeleine had. There's also a lot of comparisons between Julia as a child and age progression sketches of Madeleine that look very similar, or some say that look similar, other people say they don't look similar at all. Julia also claims to have never seen photos of her mother when she was pregnant with her, and she also says there's no photos of her from the age of 4 or younger. On top of that, she says when she tried to ask her mother about information or details on her life before the age of 4, she says her mother refuses to say anything. Now, because of all that, Julia says she started to feel off, so she decided decided to go on the internet to try to explore more and search for some answers, and then she eventually came across Madeleine's case. This is when Julia started to see a lot of similarities between herself and Madeleine, and she also began that Instagram account and started posting comparisons of herself compared to, Madeleine as well as the McCanns. Things continue to go on and get stranger because Julia then claims that her grandmother always had a photo of a man that she said felt very familiar to her. And while Julia was researching Madeleine's case, she came across a man named Martin Ney, who was a child killer as well as a suspect in Madeleine's case. It turns out that Julia's grandmother had actually been married to a man named Paul Ney. Julia also says the man that hurt her was named Peter Ney, and she thinks that all of these people are related and they're all conspiring together. Honestly, kind of a unique last name if that's all true. Kind of weird that there's people in Julia's life with the same last name that she says hurt her. And then, there's this child killer suspect in the Madeleine McCann case. It's weird. It really is, in my opinion. Over and over again, Julia will post that she wants a DNA test done and says that she started posting online so that she could get the police and the McCann's attention and hopefully can figure out who she is, if she is Madeleine, stuff like that. But according to Julia, despite asking over and over again, her own parents have allegedly denied to taking a DNA test to prove that they are her biological parents. Julia has said on Instagram live videos that even if she isn't Madeleine McCann, she still wants help to try to figure out who she may be. Because if she really isn't related to her parents some way, somehow, maybe she's another missing child.
Someone will talk to me and will help me, and even if I'm not Madeleine, I think that police should look at this, and I can't be 100% sure without DNA tests, and thank you so much. I don't know what can I say. I'm very stressed, sad. It was a hard day.
Now, I've seen a lot of speculation online that Julia looks more like this missing child named Inga Garrick. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. I am sorry. But people are saying that Julia looks more similar to this missing child from Germany named Inga. And Inga was a 5-year-old girl from Germany known as Germany's Madeleine after she disappeared from a forest in 2015. The story goes that Inga had went into the woods with a group of children to collect some firewood, and the rest of the children came back, but Inga didn't. And despite extensive searches in Germany, police have never found Inga. She's never been recovered. But just like in Madeleine's case, Christian was nearby, and he actually ended up booking a parking space at a rest area 60 miles from where Inga disappeared. So he was in the area, and it seems like he's a suspect as well in Inga's disappearance as well as Madeleine's. Now, the issue with Julia being Inga, if you didn't realize yet, is the age gap. People are speculating about an age gap with Madeleine and Julia, but the age gap between Inga and Julia is way bigger because Inga only went missing in 2015. She was 5 years old. She would only be around 13 years old right now, and there's no way that Julia is 13 years old, in my opinion. She looks way older. She says she has a boyfriend. I think she's living with her boyfriend. I don't think she's a 13-year-old girl. Now, despite all of this evidence that Julia is bringing up, the web sleuths have been sleuthing, and they've pulled up what are saying to be photos of Julia as a child when she says she doesn't have photos of herself when she's that young. People online have also really critically compared Julia's photos to photos of the McCanns and Madeleine, and are claiming that she's just pretending to be Madeleine for fame. According to other claims, Julia's family allegedly claims that they've attempted to get Julia mental health help for basically her entire life. But now that she's an adult, she's refusing to take medication as well as get any more mental health help. Many other sleuths have claimed to have found Julia on adult websites, as well as other sites where she's looking to become famous. And so they're now all claiming that Julia's doing this for clout, to be famous. Besides all of that is this weird spin where there's this psychic named Thea Johansson that's apparently very famous, and she seems to have gotten very close to Julia. And Thea is now claiming that they're going to be going to court to seek a DNA test order, and that Julia wants both of her parents to do a DNA test and compare it to her DNA. And her father reportedly is refusing to do this. So at the end of all of this, I do not know what to think. What I do think at the end of the day is if Julia isn't Madeleine McCann, I think Julia needs help. Clearly, if she isn't a missing child, there's something going on here where she needs some kind of help, some way, somehow. And I don't think bashing her online is going to solve anything. I think it's just going to make things worse. So at the end of the day, I hope all of this can be sorted out so that Julia can get help, whether she is a missing child or not, and that, there can be a happy end to all of this. But what do you all think? Do you think there is a possibility that Julia could be Madeleine or another missing child? Or do you think this is mental health issues gone untreated? I'm honestly the last person to think someone is, quote unquote crazy for making claims like this. I think if there was a conspiracy here and she really was a missing child or an abducted child and there was people around her that were trying to keep it under the rug so they don't get in trouble, they would make claims that she's crazy. I try to see both sides of it. So I'm not going to sit here and say I think that this girl is crazy for claiming something like that, because I think it's possible that could be a larger conspiracy involved in all this, and we do know that with, trafficking, there's so many layers to it. But I don't think the evidence that has been presented so far is really solid in this, and I don't think that there's much to go on at this moment. I would like to see if there's actually solid proof and evidence. That I would be down to look into. But as of right now, everything just seems to be unfounded. It seems to be hearsay, and there seems to be no hard proof or evidence, physical evidence. Speaking of evidence, if there is any evidence or lack thereof that I have missed in this video, let's chat about down below, because if you think it's important, I want to talk about it. And I want to know all of your opinions on this, because, Madeleine's case is a huge one. And again, as I said, it's one of the most famous missing children's cases. I would love to see it solved. And hopefully one day, if Madeleine is out there and she is still alive, hopefully she will be found. But how do you all feel? Let's have a chat about it below, and I'll be down there chatting with you. With that, if you're not subscribed, I do recommend hitting that subscribe button. It allows me to continue to create videos like this and spend more time on videos like this. Again, if you want me to cover the Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein thing, or Christian's whole case and story, because that's a crazy one. He is a sick individual. Definitely let me know down below, and I will get that rolling. And at the end of the day, I hope you all stay safe out there. Make sure to lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.